needs to only complete one lap. And the 96-97 Australian Super Speedway Championship, the Australian Nascar Championship, is his.
Well, Kimbo's got it all to himself here. As you say, one lap he needs to complete. And then
needs to complete one lap is just get his starting points. To start the race, get starting points, and that will be enough for him to seal the championship. At the moment, he has around about 110-point lead over Dean Wanless. So let's have a look at the grid for you. It is the Bob Jane T-Mart's entry of Kim Jane off pole position. Yet again, and he's had a number of, I think it's around about his fourth pole position for the season. Kevin Schwantz, in his best qualifying effort, he sits right alongside Kim Jane. Dean Wanless in the Wanless Metal Industries Ford back in third. Ken James, great to see Ken up there in the IC Strong Ice Coffee Chevy in fourth. John Faulkner in the Cummins Chevy fifth. Jimmy Richards in his new Pontiac back in sixth. Seventh position off the grid is Ian Thomas in the Bright Eyes Chevy. Position 8. Making a comeback to NASCAR racing is Perry Schubert in the Pontiac. Denzel Mead, another one making a comeback, another experienced super speedway racer of many years. John Maltzed in the Courier's Please entry starts from 10. Walter Giles in the Holden Calibra out of position number 11. Position 12 is Bob Middleton in the White Line Transport entry. Graham Smith in 13th. Position 14, Trevor Oliver in the Southern Motors Kirkman Transport entry. Mark Harrison, another newcomer for this final round. 16 is Brian Sala and Paul Stocker in the Consolidated Waste entry in 17. Darryl Kuhn, 18, and Neville Lance. That is very surprising. Way back in 19th, he did have some qualifying problems. We are set to go. The AC Delco NASCAR 200. We're off to a start, and Jane gets a ripper.
And all he needs to do is complete one lap, but 4 corners, and then the championship's his. And as I said earlier, Lee, he'll be very careful, run this one lap, get his points up, the championship under his belt, and then he can really go racing and have a good time.
Well, this will be the best lap of his racing career, no doubt about that. He has finished second twice in the Australian NASCAR Championship. However, for 96-97, it is his as of now. Kim Jane.
A lot of years of trying. There's his crew, absolutely wrapped.
That's evil. He is quite a character. And there it is. It says it all. Kim Jane, the NASCAR champion for 96-97. Righto, we've got that out of the way. Let's get down to business.
That's right. Let's go and have some fun. But Kevin Schwantz isn't going to let him get away with it too easily. He's hanging in right behind him. Bit of a gap there now, forming back to Ian Thomas.
Kevin Schwantz sitting in second position in the Talbot Fast Freight. Clarion Chevy would be keen to win, to end the season on a winning note. He has never won here at the Super Speedway, here at the Thunderdome. He's won. Oh, Faulkner already into the pits.
Gee, his luck just doesn't change, does it?
John Faulkner coming in. The crew just having a look at the front end.
Well, they're checking the wheels there. They're checking the wheel nuts. Maybe he's feeling a bit of a rattle. Don't know, Lee. It's hard to say. But Kim Jane's certainly not feeling any rattles. He's setting a cracking pace out in front. Certainly not letting him get away. There was Kevin Schwantz and Dean Wanless hanging right in there behind him.
Faulkner, you just caught a quick glimpse of him there coming out of the pits, but they're setting a cracking pace. These first few laps, they are in the 28-second bracket. That's not too far off qualifying time, so they're sizzling.
Well, they're really pouring it on, you know. Kim knows he's got the championship now. He's really keen to put a show on here. You know, it's an interesting story, though. I just saw Ken James coming through there. Ken thought he was going to be out of it after the last round. Blew a motor, was more or less resigned to the fact that he was going to put it away, and IC Coffee rang him. Said, what do you need? We'll get you a motor. Let's get you racing.
Good. It was a very generous gesture from IC Strong Ice Coffee. The engine went and got some attention, some very much needed attention from John Sydney Racing, and he's back in business and running very strongly in fourth position. So good to see Ken James back on the pace. He is just ahead of Jimmy Richards at the moment.
Well, look at Jimmy closing in too. Jimmy's not he's not happy to sit back there. He wants to get up the front and share a bit of the action.
Well, we've all just, or a lot of us has just seen the Daytona 500, and if you notice the Pennzoil car in that race, the Johnny Benson car, the Bahari Racing Team car, that is what Jim Richards is running in at the moment, the ex-Bahari Racing Team car. The next Winston Cup car, it's a neat car. They've had their fair share of trouble since they've purchased the car, Dick Midgley in the team, but it looks like it's all on song now.
I think they've sorted those problems out, Lee. Look at that car, cuts down nice and low. You can get right down there, hug that yellow line, which is where you need to be when you're fast. Just about to make an inside move here on Ken James. Let's have a look at whether or not he can keep the gas on as he goes through the turn. Does so, not a problem. Clean as a whistle.
Ken James just moves high, gives him a little bit of what we call racing room. Jimmy slips up into 4th position now. Bit of a gap back. There's just under a 2-second gap from 3rd back through 4th.
2 seconds seems a long way, but as we mentioned earlier, all it takes is for one of those cars to get out.
Up on Darryl Coon and Paul Stocker. The guy's just moving aside and letting him on through. Paul Stocker in the consolidated waste entry.
Schwantz has watched Kim Jane go to the low line. He's taken the high line, hoping that Kim would get held up a little. He didn't, but it was still a good move anyway.
Kevin Schwantz running nice and strong in 2nd spot. Just getting back to what we're talking about, Paul Stocker. There he is on screen. An exciting season coming up for him, 97-98. He's actually going to join forces with John Maltzed, run a 2-car team under the consolidated waste banner. So exciting times.
Mark's probably been lucky.
Shredded. Well,
losing a bit of time under the green. This is what really hurts. Although the yellow's come out now, so it's really played into his hands. He's in the pits. He can have his stop, and now he'll probably be...
There's Kim Jane, the new champion for 96-97. We are under yellow, and we will take a break. More of the ace.
Job there, Lee, although looking at that tyre, didn't so much look like a blowout to me. I'd be a little bit concerned if I was his crew chief that something may be rubbing on the inside of that guard. There's Walter Giles in the pit, also having a few tyre problems by the look of it. Very early in the race, it's an early yellow, and to see him in there taking on a new set of tyres at this point, maybe he's having a few problems.
The Holden Calibra with Walter Giles, a very experienced Dean Wanless. See your top 3, Jimmy Richards, Ken James and Ian Thomas. 4 back through 6. You can see Faulkner on the inside there. Now, John lost time and laps when he was in the pit, so he is trying to get that lost lap back. We'll see how he goes. He's got to get a good start. He's got to get a good jump. You see Wanless weaving over the track, getting ready to go. It is restart time, and Kim Jane gets away to the better of the start, so Faulkner doesn't, in fact, pick up that lap. So he slots in behind Kim Jane. We are back underway, lap 15 of 120. We've got a long way to go.
Well, Faulkner seems to have sorted his problems out. He's certainly on the pace. He's a lap down, as you say, and Kim wasn't about to be a gentleman and let him have it back that easy.
George, just watching the field drift on through, there's a notable absence of a couple of campaigners, Ian Thomas and Neville Lance. Now, they're running high in terms of the points. Ian is, in fact, tied for 2nd with Dean Wanless, and Neville is in 5th position, tied.
Have a win here on the Thunderdome.
Going well in 2nd spot in the Talbot Fast Freight Chevy. Here is Neville Lance. So his bad luck continues. Now, this is a completely new engine from last time, so whether they're having some problems with it. I did make mention to you that he spun a couple of times in free practice, and
it's got a stronger engine in the car now. As you mentioned, Lee, it's a brand new motor. Looks to me like they're looking for maybe a lead off or a spark plug lead burn through. I'd say he's probably got a bit of a miss in the motor, but they could be anywhere. And incredibly hot in that engine. Those guys sticking their hands in there, they'll be wondering why they did it tomorrow.
Well, Neville Collins in terms of points, but still charging very, very hard.
Oh, we've got a car in the wall coming out of turn 4.
Caution situation. Who is it? Mark Harrison?
Looks like the Mark Harris machine. Gee, I hope he hasn't had another problem with one of those tyres.
Mark Harrison. Doesn't seem to be, the problem doesn't seem to be too bad. He's just crawling around at the top.
Almost looked like he just ran high there and just licked the wall and followed it around, Lee.
So we are under our 2nd caution for the AC Delco Nascar 200. The order still remains the same. It's Kim Jane, Kevin Schwantz, Dean Wanless, Jimmy Richards.
There's that car of Mark Harris's, Lee, parked against the wall. Doesn't seem to be a lot of structural damage, and
well, a very wise move there by Harrison. I don't think you'd be going back out, would you, George?
I don't think so. When you've got something cutting tyres down like that, time to quit.
Right, we are set to go with a restart. Kim Jane and John Faulkner. Faulkner has got away to a great start, so he regains lost lappage Gets the jump on the inside of Faulkner. You saw the rest of the field coming on down. Who's that looking for a good inside run there on Kim Jane? It looks like Walter Giles.
Walter Giles got his act together there when his Calibra seems to be flying. Whatever his problems were earlier, certainly he's sorted them out now.
Walter Calibra is certainly looking good up behind Kim Jane. So Faulkner is running on very fast on race pace. He's sitting in front of our race leader. Kevin Schwantz has now got around the outside of Walter Giles. He's got himself back up there. Jimmy Richards is having to contend with Walter at the moment.
Kim Jane looking down the inside of Faulkner. I think Faulkner's holding him up just a little bit. He's got his lap back there, but he needs to get now right around. He'd be hoping for a yellow. That for quite some time there, Lee, and he's got back onto the pace tonight fairly easily.
We watch this battle. The car in front is John Faulkner trying to make up lost ground when he pitted right at the very beginning of the race. Had some sort of problem. We haven't had any feedback as to what that was, but he is now running very well. In fact, he's setting the pace here.
Certainly is, and Kevin Schwantz is pouring himself all over the back of Kim Jane. Kim would be knowing now that he needs to make a move fairly soon, because if he doesn't, then Kevin Schwantz certainly is.
Both beautifully prepared John Sydney cars.
Says a lot for the Sydney stable, doesn't it? Both those cars running as well as what they do. They not only look good, they're strong. And as Kevin Schwantz makes his move for the inside.
Well, this will be interesting. They're coming up on Faulkner. Schwantz has got the inside run. A good move by Kevin up on the inside. But have a look back. Reducing that gap all the time is Richards in the Valvoline entry. Here comes Jimmy. Now Schwantz is trying to get past Faulkner up the inside. Will John allow it? He will. So Kevin Schwantz up the inside of John Faulkner, and Jimmy Richards is looking for a way past Kim Jane on the inside.
Jimmy holding it down tight. He knows that Kim's got himself hung out there to dry a little bit. He can't pull it down from where he is, and Jim's trying to take advantage.
We've been making mention of all the busy drivers that have been driving not only here at the Thunderdome but also at the support events at the Australian Grand Prix. Jimmy Richards has been driving his Volvo Super Tourer and has had a great day winning the support event.
Certainly got it sorted out.
Kim Jane back in second. Jim Richards looking for any opportunity to get past. They suffered some handling problems last time when Jim was in fact leading the race. They pitted and discovered some front-end problems with the car and just couldn't get Jim back out there. He had to repeatedly keep coming in. This is getting nice and tight here. He slips up on the inside of Kim Jane. No problem there at all. So Richards up into second. Kim Jane doesn't want to have anything to do with it, though. He's running hard, and here comes Wallace. Dean Wallace getting into the act as well.
Well, while they're running side by side like that, they're actually holding each other up, and that's what's giving Dean the chance to close up the gap. But Jimmy can really hold that car down low. It's handling beautifully. Kim seems to be washing high a little bit. Don't know whether it's the new tyres. As we said, it takes a bit of sorting out, and Kim's not quite on the pace as good as what he was.
Well, Kevin Schwantz is on the pace. He has got a 2.5-second lead over these guys. He has just streaked away.
Good sponsorship, so we're comfortable, in a good position.
Comfortable's a good word. Kevin is looking great, and as we've talked about before on the show, George, is that Kevin makes no secret about his ambition to drive NASCARs in the States. Obviously, first of all, in the Busch Grand National Series, in which he's a part owner of a team, then obviously Winston Cup would be his ultimate goal.
Well, he certainly needs to get a lot of experience, and this is the place to get it. The Thunderdome, very, very demanding track, just as tough a track to drive in as any in the States. Although, you know, you really need to have a lot of seat time, a lot of experience to be able to cut it on the Winston circuit in America.
John Faulkner's still running on race pace. He isn't on the lead lap, but he's certainly doing very well.
Well, at this point, he's certainly he's certainly helping Kevin Schwantz out, because he seems to be holding Kim and Jim up just that little bit. They're staying with him, but haven't quite got what it takes to get around him.
Kevin Schwantz, this is an ideal situation for him as they start to come through some lap traffic. Down towards the bottom of the circuit there, that looks like Denzel Mead. A very experienced NASCAR campaigner, but been out of it some time, now making a comeback.
And look at Dean Wallace. Dean Wallace looking for a way through. Certainly on the pace here tonight, looking after his car, but he doesn't want to get out of touch.
Well, this is getting interesting now. John Faulkner at the head of this pack. Up into second spot is the Valvoline Pontiac Grand Prix of Jim Richards. He has slipped up there. He is right on Faulkner's tail now. Remember the last round, John Faulkner was in the lead. We put the mocker on him, I guess, because We said that this could be his maiden victory at the Thunderdome, and he spun out and had a very, very hard accident, a very hard contact with the wall. He said it shook him up a little bit, and he was thinking carefully when he got into the Nascar tonight.
It tends to do that, Lee, you know, reverse into one of those concrete walls at 300 kilometres an hour. It certainly gets your attention.
George, you made mention not so long ago that there could have been a bit of holding up happening. Have a look at this. Ken James and Perry Schubert are now up with this group. So Ken James in the IC Strong Ice Coffee Chevy and Perry Schubert in the Growers' Choice entry, right up on the pace as well.
Well, that's what's happening, Lee. You know, he's very quick, but he's definitely holding Jim up here now, and he's giving the rest of the field that chance just to close up a little bit. And, of course, at the same time, giving the opportunity for Kevin Swans to build his buffer.
One of the hardest working teams out here is the John Faulkner crew. From the AGP out here to the Thunderdome, back to the AGP tomorrow.
They've certainly had their work cut out for them this weekend.
Down the main straight they come. You're looking at John Faulkner, Jim Richards. Richards looking for any opportunity to get past John Faulkner. Dick Midgley and the Valvoline crew would be happy with Jim's progress at the moment. Here we have Perry Schubert. Well, I said that he was on the pace, and he's caught right up to Kim Jane.
Perry's settled in. He's settled in very quickly, hasn't he, here tonight? He's had quite a break and come back in here, and he's got right on the pace from the word go.
Full credit to Kim Jane, though. He only had to complete that opening lap, and the championship was his. He is our newly crowned 96-97 Australian Super Speedway champ. He could have tossed it away and just cruised around at the back, but he's making a race of it.
Well, you know, Kim's a racer. He likes to get out there, have a big go at it, and I guess having the opportunity...
Hard time, and we saw Kim drop off the pace from Schwantz and Faulkner and Richards, and that's why.
Well, you know, it's interesting to see also, Lee, that Kim Jane's car and also Dean Wanless seem to be just a little tiny bit off the pace here tonight. Maybe the change of tyres, they've been the two most competitive cars all year. So possibly the tyres that we were running suited their cars just that much better than everyone else's. Now we've had the change, it's reversing around the other way a little bit.
Well, here's Schubert, Perry Schubert in the number 4 Growers' Choice entry, slipping up the inside of Kim Jane and on the pace. Don't know much about Perry, but he's certainly driving. James, Perry Schubert, and an ever-increasing drifting back Kim Jane. Have a look at that.
How was that? A little bit of a nudge. Knock, knock, let me through.
Ken James saying, Dean Wanless, here I come, and he blasts through on the inside in the IC Strong Ice Coffee Chevy.
And that's what we were talking about a little earlier with the tyre situation. See, Wanless is just that little bit off the pace. Not to say that Ken James isn't doing a fantastic job. He's certainly quick, but normally it'd be a little tougher than that. Oh, Perry Schubert trying to make it round the outside.
Oh, no. Perry Schubert went high and spun and came in contact with one of the other cars and has just slammed the wall at the top end of the circuit in turn 1. That was a hard contact. Here's the Bob Jane T-Marks replay. Watch high.
Perry's trying to make it 3 wide round the outside. I think he may have just lost a little bit of touch of where he was there. He knew he had to get it down low before he got into the marbles, pulled it down, and I think that was Denzel Mead that he touched and then slammed himself up into the top wall.
That was very, very hard indeed. Actually, George, just getting a look at it, he was very unlucky not to slip through that gap. We might have another look at it shortly, but here he is. Perry Schubert has hit that wall very, very hard. Of course, we are under court. Have a look at what I was talking about, how unlucky he was, if you get to see it or not. He comes down, Mead is going through on the inside. He only just makes contact with the back quarter. That's enough to turn him the other way and slam into the wall.
Yes, well, he's been way too high on the racetrack as he's entered the turn there. He knew he had to get it down. Pulled it down, but unfortunately the gap just wasn't there.
Denzel Mead ended up spinning as well, but he appears to be okay. He spins down onto the apron, down onto the inside of the circuit. We now have Trevor Oliver sitting in the pits in the Kirkman Transport entry, and it is pit stop time. So pit road has been open throughout that caution.
This is where all the lead cars will come in now. They'll take on some new tyres because they're now getting to the pointy end of the race, Lee. They all want to take on fresh rubber. The fast runners will come in. Some of the cars that have already pitted early in the race will stay out. Kim's in now, going to take on 4 new tyres. I'd say if that car's been a little tight, we'll probably see John Sidney putting a few rounds into it and adjusting the suspension.
Well, you're looking at the new Australian NASCAR champ,
If you look at the right, on the right-hand side of the car, the screen at the top, that was John Sidney just putting a bit of a turn into the rear of the car. That'll loosen him up a little bit, hopefully get him to where he needs to be.
George, just explain that. When you talk about putting a turn into the car, what do you mean?
Well, each corner of the car's got adjustable jack screws, and you can actually tighten the, you can actually put more weight on the springs. The more weight you've got on the left-hand rear, then the tighter the car will be because it wants to push high. If you take a bit of weight out of there, then it loosens the car up, and it all really only takes like a quarter of a turn on one of those jack screws can make all the difference between winning and losing.
Well, we saw one runaway wheel there. The cars, the majority of the field are back out on the track. Perry Schubert is still in the car, and the doctor is in the car as well, so he is receiving some much-needed attention.
Not looking good there, is it? Look at the banking on that racetrack, Lee. If you watch the guys trying to stand on it or walk up, it's almost like walking up a mountain.
Well, 24 degrees, the angle of banking, and...
Taking some medical equipment up there by the look of it. It's not looking good, is it, for the poor old... And a red flag situation. Gee, well, that's not a good sign.
So the word we get from race control, the race will be stopped momentarily while they sort out the Perry Schubert incident, and we really do hope that Perry's for the race stoppage. You can see all of the officials, and inside the car is the doctor.
Well, the race has been declared. We've just had words through. You see it on your screen now. They've actually declared the race. So, don't know, not a good sign, and there's not a driver here that would want to see this race finished the way that it did. Going to have a couple of the guys there that probably haven't had the opportunity to win a race, win one, but I'm sure this is not how they want to do it.
Well, to keep you informed, folks, we've just received word that Perry Schubert is okay, but they are just taking every possible precaution. Now, our finish marshal has ran across the circuit. They will finish the cars under a caution situation, and Perry Schubert, but a very happy one for Bob Middleton. He comes across for his very first NASCAR win.
Yes, I guess you've got to take them as they fall. But, well, let's just hope that Perry's okay.
Here's the final placings for you in the AC Delco NASCAR 200. Bob Middleton in for the win. John Maltz in for second. Kevin Schwantz picks up third, and Dean Wallace in for fourth. Kim Jane, our new champion, ended up in fifth. Jim Richards sixth. Ian Thomas seventh. And Ken James in eighth position. Up second ahead of Ian Thomas, Kevin Schwantz in for fourth. Faulkner ended up fifth. Ken James in sixth, and Bob Middleton a great seventh. John Maltz ended up in 8th, 9th was Neville Lance. Some very bad luck for Neville. Graham Smith, a top 10 finish. Darryl Coon, 11th. Jimmy Richards back in 12th. Waihoon, 13th. And Brian Sala ended up in 14th position. Well, our ground crew's been working overtime tonight.
And Bob Jane teammates.
Kim Jane, NASCAR champion for the season. Well done.
A history-making win for Kim Jane. There's Dean Wallace congratulating him, second place in the championship. We certainly hope you've enjoyed all of the great super speedway action right here on Network 10. And that wraps it up for season 96-97. On behalf of John Smiles and George Elliott, we look forward